All right, we are live. This is Brian Mullins with Rose Rock Realty, broker owner, and this is
Nazareth Hart from Bank of Oklahoma Mortgage.
So we are here on New Year's Eve. I don't think a lot of people are working, are they?
Not so much today.
But we are here working for you.
Yes.
So today we are going to be talking about some interesting things that are going on in the market. So I want to thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this recorded, really appreciate it too. Hopefully our topic today is moot by the time you watch this, but it may not be. We don't know how long this is going to go. Today we're talking about the government shutdown. So if you've watched any news, read any newspapers, you have seen that we've got a showdown going on in Washington. So we're not here today to talk about politics. That's not what our goal is today. Our goal is to talk about what is happening in the housing market, and really it's all based upon the mortgage market. We do have some closings. Hey, Eric. We do have some closings that are getting delayed because of this. And so it really goes back to the mortgage. So that's why I wanted to bring Nazareth in today to kind of talk about this. So let's start off with the most common mortgages, and we can kind of see if we have any problems there, and then we'll kind of get into some of the other issues. So most mortgages that we do and nationwide are going to be conventional, FHA, and then some VA.
Yes.
Do we have any issues with those?
None whatsoever. They are smooth flowing. There's no problems there, no hiccups.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the majority of the files that we do as well. So that majority of the people we're going to be fine, but there's going to be certain subsectors of the mortgage industry that are going to be an issue. So one that's actually affecting us is USDA.
Yes.
So tell me what's going on with USDA.
So USDA has now they're completely shut down.
Okay.
So we cannot reserve any new loans, and we cannot close any loans that are currently in the pipeline. So we are at a full standstill for any USDA, which is really popular here in Oklahoma.
So let's talk about what USDA is, just real quick. USDA is a product for what is considered rural, and it goes off census tracts, correct?
Yes, correct.
So if the census tract is considered a rural by the government, then you can actually get a house for $0 down.
Yes.
So it's a really awesome product. You'd be surprised some of the areas that are actually considered rural. There's a lot of on the outskirts of the Oklahoma City metro that are really close and less than 30 minutes from downtown, but still considered rural. So that affects a lot.
Yes.
The other one, 184.
Yes, that's another popular one here in Oklahoma. It's a Section 184 loan for anyone who has Native American tribal card.
So same thing as USDA, completely shut down?
Completely shut down right now.
Okay.
Cannot reserve any loans, cannot close any Section 184 loans. So that's all at a standstill.
Okay. So yeah, 184 is really awesome. If you have your Native American card,
yes, it's a good one.
You can get lower mortgage insurance premiums.
Yes. Or is it lower down payment.
Lower down payment. So it's a really good program. Other parts of the country, like I actually pulled the sheet, and this is actually from California, and they didn't even mention it because it's not a thing in a lot of other parts of the country, but here obviously 184 is a big deal.
Yes.
So I'm hearing talk about the IRS being shut down, and we've got obviously tax time coming, but how is that affecting the mortgage market?
On the mortgage market, it comes into play for the tax transcripts. So right now, no one can order their transcripts online, in person. They're completely closed down.
Okay.
So when it comes to self-employed borrowers, sometimes down payment assistance requirements, that's where we're coming into a hiccup there.
Okay. So tax transcripts are essentially verifying what they've given you on their tax returns.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So we will request the 1040 that you filed, and we'll actually verify with the IRS that that's actually what you filed, and that's how we do that.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that, for anybody who's self-employed, like that just really shuts it down because, whenever you work for somebody, you get a W-2 at the end of the year. And so, I mean, there's some redundancy in making sure that you actually made what you said, because, a mortgage company will get your W-2 and your tax returns, and it's a little easier to verify. And they'll also call your employer to verify. But whenever you're self-employed, they have to take your word for it because it's your money that you're creating, and they pretty much have to go off the IRS.
Yes.
As the gospel truth
versus
an employer. So
So we can, just to clarify, we can still get the process started on those, and it would be, we cannot close until the day we get those transcripts back. So hopefully this doesn't go very long and it doesn't impact very much.
And if this goes long, I mean, we may end up seeing, if this goes a month, the government may open back up, but you're going to have a month worth of tax transcripts they've got to process through.
So true. Good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, with this, we may be feeling this effect for, for weeks, even after this is resolved.
Yes.
So let's talk about flood insurance. Flood insurance is required depending on where the house is. FEMA has gone in and determined what areas are considered a flood risk.
Yes.
And so some houses got put into flood zones when they may not have used to have been in a flood zone, which is a lot of fun when that happens. But how is this affecting flood insurance? Because the truth of the matter is no insurer would issue a flood insurance policy on their own because it's too risky. So essentially the federal government has taken that risk on themselves. So that's why we're worried about it in this government shutdown. Yeah.
So right now there are no flood policies being issued. There's no filing an addendum on one that it could be in a flood zone that we're pulling. There's no updated information as of December 21st when the shutdown happened. So there's no way to verify if they're new to the flood zone, so it is a risk. And then they're just not issuing policy. So if you're in a flood zone and you're current in the pipeline, you're not closing until we get that back.
So this is going to be similar though to the IRS. The longer this goes, the longer the backlog goes, and who knows how long it will take to issue these policies, even when they do get going. So let's see. Let's talk about government employees. So the largest employer in Oklahoma City is Tinker, and then FAA is shortly behind it. So we've got a lot of federal government employees in Oklahoma City and across the whole country. So how is this affecting federal employees?
So right now we can verify electronically up to the day of the shutdown. So I can verify that you were employed up to December 21st, but there's no way for us to verify that you're still currently employed until the shutdown is over. So that is also, if you're a government employee, you're kind of stuck right now too. Okay.
So what a lender does whenever they take a loan, they will get a verification of employment, use an electronic one depending on the employer initially, and then they will call usually the day before, or a couple days before closing to verify that you're still there. And so, they may be able to pull the electronic one, but they're not going to be able to do that final verification right before closing. And I mean, you can't issue a loan without
that's a major
that.
One.
Yeah. So, because they're not going to issue a loan unless you have a job to pay the mortgage back. And then the last one, which isn't a big one in Oklahoma, but we'll address it anyway. Condos. We don't have a ton of condos. There's some in Norman, there's some up in the city, but how are condos affected?
So as long as they're on the approval list as of right now, you can still close on them normally. That's not an issue at all. If you're working through the approval process on getting a condo approved, that has been put on hold. So no new condos will get approved during this time frame.
So how many condos are on an approved list? There's not very many.
Super minimal.
Okay.
Very little right now. Yes.
Okay. So it's not a big deal in Oklahoma City. Probably if you go to like Miami or somewhere, or,
it'd be,
there's a lot of, but here it's not a huge deal. So that's kind of the really basic rundown of what's going on. We don't really want to see this continue on. This affects more than just the mortgage market too, because like I said, our largest employer is the federal government in the city. And the longer this continues, I mean, people aren't going to have money. Typically, the government makes up for this and they pay the employees back pay, but they may not this time. I mean, who knows? This is new territory. So we hope that this doesn't continue on, but this may well continue on. I've heard some people say it's going to go a month. So we'll see. But yeah, if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to reach out to us. Our number here is 692-0663. You can find us online at roserockrealtor.com. Nazareth, how do they get in touch with you?
You can call me. It's 405-367-9556. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay. So we will be here. It's as you probably saw from the video I did last week with our market update, we've got a lot of interesting dynamics going on. The mortgage market is still, or the housing market is still really good. We've actually turned into a little bit of a buyer's market. Rates have come down from what I've seen.
They're good.
What rates
They're
are
maintaining?
What are you seeing on a normal 30-year conventional decent price?
So I haven't checked us up this morning, so don't quote me
you're
on
good.
this.
Give me a ballpark.
We're looking at about, depending on the full scenario, I would say an average of 5 across the board.
Okay.
Like give or take, up or down, but 5 is what we're looking at.
Yeah, and so I mean that's still historically that's really good.
That's great.
You know, the last couple of years we've been spoiled, but
Yes.
you know that's still a really good rate. So I would, you know, if you're interested in buying a house, now's the right time. If you're interested in selling a house, it's still a really good time. We're coming into spring, into January. The highest volume for a lot of the real estate websites is January for leads.
Nice.
Yeah, and so like this is a really good time to get in on the market, because if we can get started the process really quick, we can be in whenever there are more buyers looking for homes.
Right in spring. Yes.
Right in spring. So yeah, it's a great time. So I appreciate it. Wish everybody a happy new year. We will see you in 2019. Again, this is Brian Mullins, Rose Rock Realty.
Nazareth Hearts, Bank of Oklahoma Mortgage.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
And